back at it again, recording over here. I got the other list up for when Nick gets a chance to log in. Hopefully, he gets a chance too. Um, but yeah, so let me send this address out real quick. Four. So we were talking about it. So we had to set up our e-learning stuff for the kids in case of weather and stuff tomorrow. So and we're just waiting to hear whether or not that becomes an official thing or whether or not we're still going in tomorrow. And then I guess kind of two funny things on that. Something went bling. I don't know what that is. Which one is that? Oh, okay. That's fine over there. But so two things with that. One, like Greenville counties, we were talking about like what some of the other counties or districts around us were doing, and some are already talking about the e-learning. We said Greenville's already out tomorrow, but theirs was different. Theirs was for kind of like how Nick was talking about before with they were getting their shots on a Sunday and then had the day off on the next day for just in case.
Yeah.
Well, they were given tomorrow off to their teachers to be able to go get vaccinated. And then Friday was going to be their like, like their just in case people have reactions day off. So I'm like, every place around us is doing that. Whereas we're like, get somebody to cover you on the second shot and hopefully you don't have to take a day off here. But
that does not surprise me.
Yeah.
Just knowing how this area is,
yeah,
it's like one of those things like
you're like, oh wow, you think we're doing good, and then you hear something more logical show up someplace else, and you're like, oh, maybe we didn't think of that. So, I was gonna say also I was waiting for it because I thought it was funny. If they do call school off tomorrow, I'm waiting for the influx of people to be like, man, people are soft now. Back in the day, we used to not get a message until 6 o'clock the next morning, and you had to wait and da da da. I'm like, I thought about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. You're not saying names, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
But at the same time,
blocked
it's like,
me.
yeah, I'm like, hey, you want to know something? The reality is, if they had this ability in the past, you don't think they would have done it? You don't think parents would have appreciated the not looking for daycare at 6 in the morning when they find out, like at the last minute? So this is one of those things where they're trying to utilize the technology that we have and do things so that people aren't scrambling at the last minute. So at least you have an evening's worth of time to figure out what to do with your kids and stuff. Like I'm lucky because I am a teacher. So if that happens, I'm with them. But imagine if I wasn't, and you get that message, 6 o'clock in the morning when you wake up that, oh, wait, they don't have school today. And I have to figure out, at least you have the night before. But people don't want to think about that. They don't want to be logical about it and whatnot. So I don't know. But I was gonna say, let's go ahead and talk about today's episode. Is our like kind of our favorite time of the year. It's the bracket time. In case you guys didn't pick up earlier, so what are you guys doing tomorrow? Like, yes, we're watching tomorrow. It begins 11 a.m. Right? This is the first round.
Yeah. Like, well,
Huh?
is it 11 or is it 10? For
11 or
some
10?
reason I was thinking it was like 10 o'clock.
It might have been 11, 10 o'clock, / Central, Eastern. So
Yeah,
I got to double check all that tonight to make sure that I get logged in on time with all of that good stuff for tomorrow. And then I think in the past for our bracket picks, do we just do the finalists? Because I mean, there's a couple brackets we can kind of talk about a little bit. When you want to just pick our finalists and our winner and kind of go at it from there.
Well, I thought in years past, what we kind of did was we did the semis and the final.
All right, I'm down with that. I think we did that.
I mean, if that's the case, then yeah. Because I mean, as y'all, I'm the one who's extra, and like I fill out the entire bracket. I don't just do like the top half like some people.
Yeah, you and my son have filled out the bottom half of the brackets too.
I obsess over it. It's like, no, I want to see if I get everything right. Like, it's a sense of pride with me.
Oh, and that backside is a whole lot of fun to do in some cases too. So
Oh God.
this year will be
No,
really
there's a few weight classes. 141 for me was a nightmare.
good.
Um, it was an absolute nightmare for me just because like I there's a few matchups that I've got stars beside, like this is going to be a good one or one to
Oh
watch out
gosh,
for.
yeah. I can't wait.
And then like I've got ones that like could go either way.
Yeah.
And like I've got one at where is it? And at 174 that I think honestly really could go either way.
Oh, I mean, there's a couple throughout the thing. So I guess let's go ahead and get started. And if Nick is able to hop in, we will plug him in and we can kind of backtrack and get his picks on those ones, or we'll just kind of roll
So
with
does
where
that put
we're
him
at.
at a deficit for not giving picks? Does he
Right
just get wrong picks for those?
any pick that's not there is a wrong pick, so that's more to us.
True.
So all right, let's kick it off with 25. We'll just do it the easy way and go from the bottom up. This is the one that I'm going to kind of play a little devil's advocate. Not devil's advocate. I'll do it backwards. I don't think, even if Nick is on here, I don't think any of us are not picking Lee to win the whole thing. Would that be correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've
All
got
right.
Lee winning it. So.
So I'm going to put Tyler, I'm going to put your name as Lee next to that since you got that there.
I do have a kind of a hot take, and I'm curious what you're gonna think of it.
All right. So
I
let's
mean,
go
but
back.
I'll let you do your picks and all that.
All right, so we got Lee as champion. If we go back to the championship match, I've got him partially because I haven't really followed all these guys here. He's the number 2 guy. Good. I mean, Virginia Tech's got a solid program. Nick said he's an Alabama boy. All those guys down there,
Mhm.
real happy that he's doing well. So I got Latona from Virginia Tech wrestling Lee in the championship match. You want me to just go through and then let you say whether you have the same or different, or to back down to the
Oh
semi?
yeah, you can do that.
All right. So semis then on the top side, I got Lee versus Teskey from UNI. I know on here he is what is he, Teskey? He's the number 5 seed. But I
Yeah.
really like the way UNI wrestles. And honestly, I don't know enough about Heidelbrandt from CMU to take that the 4 seed on up through there. Actually, I don't even have Teskey wrestling him. I've got Teskey wrestling Liam Cronin from Nebraska, just based off that Big Ten schedule. So I got Teskey and Lee on the top side of that semis, and on the bottom side, I got Latona and Camacho from NC State. And I think you're gonna like a lot of my bracket picks. I know Camacho is a number 6 seed, but I kind of went a little bit. I think ACC heavy in some cases, and I think maybe it's just because of I don't know what's the term, recency bias. Like they're one
Yeah.
of the teams, one of the them. They're one of the conferences that I actually, I guess, heard a little bit more about with the few things that we had going on. So that's what I got: Lee Teskey, Camacho Latona, and then Lee and Latona, and then Lee winning that one.
Yeah. So it's funny because a few of the people you mentioned, like Cronin from Nebraska on the top half, you actually had him going far. He's him losing in the first round to Ferry from Kent State is actually one that I have that's kind of like going to be an upset. Um, Although I don't really think you. I mean, I guess you could call it an upset. I mean, but
Yeah.
I think I I don't know. That's just one that I'm just predicting will be kind of out there. Camacho, same thing. I have him losing in the second to the cat from Michigan, Ragusin or Ragusin or however you pronounce his last name.
All right.
Uh, Non-American last name, but no, but I had him actually going pretty far. I have him going into the semis, in the bottom half versus him and Latona, and then have Latona beating him.
All right. So who do you have Latona wrestling then?
Ragusin, how you pronounce it, from Michigan. Partly bias, I can admit.
I was about to
Uh,
say I should have I should have known that one. Huh.
I'll be honest, the more I looked at it too, I was like, I may be going a little too crazy with that pick, but I mean, I have been impressed with his wrestling, and I think he might be like one of those sleepers. Um, I have him being a sleeper in the tournament.
All right.
On the top half though, um, that matchup with Hildebrandt and Teskey was one that it was hard for me because like you said, we've talked about it before, and like you'll see in a lot of my future picks that like I kind of give the
Ask your
I
brother.
give the
You guys
I don't want to say the tie, but the benefit of the doubt to the UNI wrestlers,
Mhm.
just because UNI is they're also good. But in this case,
All right, hold on one second. Let me get
you're
this.
good.
All right, come on, doggies. All right, Nick said he was also going to be coming back on over here.
But yeah, no, about the Teskey guy, I had him going wrestling Hildebrandt, and I actually got Hildebrandt beating him though.
All right.
Yeah, it was a tough one. I mean,
they are
honestly,
4-5, and
yeah, I mean it's tough. I mean, because like you said, at the end of the day, UNI, it's like they are very scrappy. But either way, regardless of who wins Teskey or Hildebrandt, Lee beats them, and then Lee goes on to the finals and wins that.
So who did you eventually have? You had Hildebrandt versus Lee in the semis?
Lee and Hildebrandt on top, and Ragusan and Latona on the bottom half of the bracket.
All right.
So then you got Lee and Latona in the finals. Lee wins.
All right. So we only differ a little bit on who our guys wrestling in the semis. So not too shabby there. All right. We'll come back around to it. Do you think Lee wins Hodge Trophy this year?
Problem. Well, him or Gable.
Yeah, him and Gable.
I think just because of as far as like just how dominant they've been. Like you said, it's
dominance,
those bookends.
bonuses. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's
hard
to.
I think how they wrestled this tournament, like how dominant either one of them are during this tournament, will determine all that. So, all right, 133. You want to start off with who you got winning 33? Since I started off with 25, even though I kind of picked the easy one that we all were like, yeah, everybody's got.
See, let me look at it real quick. I'm just kind of looking at it. I gotta send a text to someone for like 2 seconds.
No Nick sent me a message, okay?
But yeah, for 33, yeah, on the top. I mean, obviously.
And we got Nick pulling up over here. Hey, I thought you might be driving.
We got the bad weather rolling through, man. School's shut down at 11, and so we've been home.
How bad is it?
Our local weather guy, James Spann, didn't even put on his jacket today. That's how bad it is.
I guess that means a lot for something up there. So out tomorrow then?
We won't know. County school, I would not be surprised if we are. Okay. So, but yeah, no, we've been home. And so, yeah, the gyms, I mean, like everybody's shutting down. So if gyms and places like that are shutting down, yeah, they're supposed to be like, we're like level 4, level 5 for severe weather, tornadoes, hail, all that stuff. So rolling in from 1 o'clock to 4.
Yeah. We're in the borderline category between high and very high. We haven't hit extremely high yet, but we're right on that border.
Yeah,
our skyrocket. Yeah, our skyrocketed. God, they put schools at getting out at like, at first they had it starting at 4, and so schools were going to get out at like 1, and then by this morning they had it moved to 1 o'clock, so schools got out at like 11.
Huh. All right.
So it's been crazy here. So I was out. My FCCLA group, we had a cook off today. My girl got 4th, so I wasn't even at school anyway. So
okay, then. There you go. All right.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. We're just waiting on tomorrow. We had to have our e-learning stuff posted before the end of the day today because of the potential stuff tomorrow. And the weather was like, yeah, between the hours of 8 and 4 tomorrow gonna be really bad. I'm like, so why don't you just call it? Because that says between school.
Ours is supposed to be over at 4. So, and like I said, being a county, all it's going to take, we had something, I think in the fall where we had something like this just blow up in the middle of the night and we were out the next day. So, there's a good chance. All we need is a couple of schools and some areas in the county, and we'll be at home.
Because of the way the travel.
Yeah, and you want everybody to be safe. Unfortunately,
sure.
That's where we are. So
for sure. All right. Well, we just finished off with 125, given our picks. We're doing the semis, championship, and then the.
So you guys picked Fabian to win it all, right?
Huh? Well, I mean, is there any other choice there? I mean,
that's right. I mean, it was only
it was one of the 2 ways that we said there was a no-brainer, right? Like
right.
So. Besides our obvious homer out there, I think we all said Lee to win. and it
I
depends
don't
on.
know that Russell cat from App State. I don't know. I've got him going pretty far.
And we're about to, yeah, he's about to get hung up on real quick. It might be the first time, since we can't just go doubles right here in the middle of the room. Yeah, his double leg is going to be considered this hang up button right here.
We'll just do the mute button.
I was just
whatever
looking
the
at it. Yes,
ESPN
I
thing.
wanted more than mute. I wanted kick out.
You want like
The free-
you want it to make an impact.
What's the freeze on the ESPN show where he's got it? We can
Oh,
freeze
that
people.
old
There
show,
we go.
that thing, they're like the thing would move around and you slam the buzzer.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
was it called?
I don't know.
Not pardon
I
the
don't know.
interruption, but
Yeah. But anyways, I think, and we both had Lee versus Latona in the not semis, in the championship match.
Yeah.
Kind of give a shout out to you and down there in Alabama. I had Lee versus Teskey in the semis, and Latona versus Camacho. Tyler had Lee versus Heidelbrandt and Latona versus Ragusan, obviously the Michigan homer out. So
Yeah, of course he's gonna pick the Michigan guy. Of course he is. Of course he is. Yeah, I mean, I'm like you. I think it's Lee and Lee and Latona. And as I told my son, all the Alabama guys are pulling for Sam. Sam, I'm pulling for you 8%. Spencer Lee 92%. Okay, so there you go. I'm not fully. So.
yeah. So all right. We were just about to start. I started off with 25. We're gonna let Tyler kick off 33, who he thinks wins, and just kind of give his backwards, and we can kind of fill in.
All right.
yeah. In the
So-
top half of the bracket, I've got obviously in the semis, I've got Dayton Fix. I mean, that's a no-brainer. And who he went up against for me was kind of I struggled with because it could have been either Philippi from Pitt or DeSanto. And ultimately, like that one gave me a little struggle, but then I decided I was like, I'm gonna go with my gut and say DeSanto, which I feel kind of is like a cop out because it's then 1 versus 4. But then on the bottom half, I've got what's his name, Matt Schmidt from Mizzou actually making it to the semis. I've got him beating the 3 seed Corbin Myers in the quarters. That's gonna be kind of one that like I think's going to be kind of an upset, quote unquote. And obviously he goes off against RBY, and then RBY goes to the finals with Fix, and Fix wins.
All right. Surprisingly enough, not surprisingly, I kind of thought the same thing. I hesitated for a minute with DeSanto and Philippi. I ultimately went with DeSanto just because I've seen him wrestle more this year. I mean, just watching.
Yeah.
I mean, Iowa's had a little bit more of the stuff. So again, the recency biased. I actually got Smitch versus RBY as well, and I got Fix RBY, and I got Fix getting it this year. No headgear pull. The only thing that I can see happening that would not get Fix to win is, and this is gonna sound bad, I've loved watching RBY wrestle freestyle and all the extra stuff that they did this year, but each like time I saw him wrestle collegiately, that third period, I hate watching him. Like he runs that last minute, and I'm like, that's not the same. Like I guess because the rule set and how it is in freestyle, like I like watching him in freestyle better, or I like watching his first 2 periods of wrestling collegiately better. That third period, he's always up, and he just seems to me to like put on the skates, and he's just scooching backwards for that last 50 seconds. You know, so I could see that possibly happening if he's up by 1 or a takedown, you know, at the end there, him like trying to pull the skates out on Fix. And I would hate to see that. But besides that little caveat, I still got Fix getting his NCAA championship.
Yeah, I'm on the same with you guys. I got Fix RBY. I mean, I guess we're all across the board. DeSanto, Fix. I want to see it. I think that's 2 guys that can really light it up. They're actually going to scrap. They're going to go at it. So hope we get to see that one. And then the same way, I was like you guys, Myers and Smith just kind of jump out. And so I think talking to somebody the other day, Mizzou has been putting guys in there for a while, and I love Brian Smith and what they do. I just worry about this season with them and the competition that they didn't get to face.
Yeah,
That's
which makes it hard
that's
because that kind of inflated their records a little bit. So I'm like, am I going based off of like years past on how they get their guys in their schedule and the
yeah.
record looks good,
I,
or am I doing it just based off their? I'm like, ooh, like who am I picking?
See, I'll be honest, like you said, that's the biggest issue with this bracket this year is like the
Hmm.
seating, as much as I hate to say it, is kind of out of whack because you have people who are like 14 seeds coming out of like Campbell,
yeah,
nothing against Campbell, but like,
right.
and they're going up against a 20 seed from like Navy. And it's like, and realistically, Navy's going to be taking that matchup. And it makes it really difficult for these picks because you don't necessarily know like how accurate the
That's
seating
why I
is.
almost
If that
don't
makes
call any
sense.
of the 4 5s or 6 8s like an upset. Like if you pick the
Yeah,
five over
Yeah.
of the four, it's really not an upset like it might have been considered previous years. But
exactly. I think there'll be a lot of chalk as we go down through this. I think we've already seen it, but it is going to be kind of weird. But yeah, I'm like you guys. I think RBY and Fix. I don't foresee the skating. It's going to be interesting to see the Fix style with the RBY style because Fix has that little bit of flair
mhm.
that just like RBY has that DeSanto really doesn't. And so
Yeah,
I think that's where the difference comes in. Like Fix can go with him, but he also has that power, that explosion like DeSanto had that gave RBY issues early on.
yeah.
But his athleticism just kind of took away. But I think Fix, I'm like you guys. I think Fix finally gets it, and yeah, I mean, so it's go Pokes on that one.
Yep, agree. All right, so we'll let you kick off 141 with who you can start with championship on down or semis on up with your 41 pick.
Yeah, so my finals I have Ironman and Seabass, and as we know, I just hope Ironman gets his. We know he doesn't usually do well, but I think the move to Iowa is going to be a big thing. I've got him over Chad Red again in the quarters. And honestly, in the semis, I don't know if it's going to be Real. I think I can see Real Woods and Wilson in the semis. And I think that would be a fun match to watch, if he can get there. But once again, we're looking at him from Stanford and we're basing off of what he did last year, which we know was unbelievable. And they didn't get to wrestle a lot. So he's another one of those sitting here at a 21. I'm sitting there. I think he's got a chance to be in the semis against Wilson. And once again, two guys going at it. But I still think Ironman, beast on top. Seabass beats Lee in the semis and another close one. And then I think Ironman finds a way in like one of those where he gets a whole bunch of riding time or something like that. And it's a 1 point match. It's not exciting, but it's an Ironman match in the finals.
Yep.
Yeah. With that bracket, I'm like you. I really want to see Ironman get his this year. On the top half, I've got him going to get. I was torn again in this quarterfinals between Tariq Wilson and Dom DeMoss out of Oklahoma. I like the way DeMoss wrestles, but at the same time, Tariq Wilson is a phenomenal athlete. So I kind of gave Wilson gave him the edge on that one. So I have Ironman and Wilson meeting in the semis. Bottom half of the bracket, I've got I've got Rivera going to the semis, but then I kind of struggled with right before the quarters. Ian Parker versus Zach Sherman out of UNC. Like I've seen them both wrestle. They're both tremendously talented, and part of it could be, like I said, I've ACC bias, but like I think Sherman can pull away with it. I think it's going to be incredibly close. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. But at the same time, Ian Parker is no slouch. I mean, if he wins, I 100% won't be surprised with that. So I basically got after that, Sherman faces Nick Lee, and then Nick Lee goes to the semis to face Rivera. So I've got Ironman and Wilson up top, Rivera and Lee. And then this one was, again, this was also tough because between Rivera and Lee, I mean, it's a toss up there. And I just decided to go with Lee. I mean, he always, every time I bet against him, he finds a way to win. And every time I pick him, he finds a way to lose. So here's hoping that he loses. And then, and then I've got Ironman winning just because I want to see it. I finally want to see him get it.
Yeah, I think we're all in
get
agreement
how
there.
hard, he's worked so hard.
I'll pick an Ironman. I fully agree that move to Iowa. If nothing else, this year it was beneficial for him because, like we said, we haven't seen Mizzou wrestle the competition that they had in the past. And if he was still there, it'd be the same thing with Ironman. Has he wrestled the right people to get it done this year? And this year being in the Big Ten with Iowa, yeah, I think he's seen the right people. I got him going up against Riviera. I got Riviera beating Lee in another shootout like they had at Big Ten and making it over there. And I put in Real Woods to all the way up to the semis. I went on what I said was going to be last year my dark horse because he was
Yeah.
not necessarily that was my call last year. So I kind of rode with him through that. Although I did have a hard time picking him over Demas. But I was like, I'm gonna roll with him this year. That's one of those things that maybe having him in my semis helps out my bracket that somebody else didn't have him on over there.
See, that's another one that was hard for me. It's like,
yeah, but I was heavy on him ever since he made it to the finals in Southern Scuffle. That his redshirt freshman year, and I've been like, two things: this cat can wrestle, and he may very well possibly have the best name in wrestling. Real Woods is the real deal.
So he is. But it sucks because where he's put because of the seeding.
Yes.
Where he's put
oh,
up.
God, that just
he's a 21 seed. Like what? Like, and
that part I was really surprised. I was expecting him at like a 12 seed based off.
Like at highest I was thinking that, but like seeing him at 21, I was like, this is what we were talking about. Like
this almost makes him wants to go find the betting odds and make some money off of him being like, yeah, he's
exactly.
He's really.
I wonder too. I wonder if him being the 21st seed kind of he takes it as a slight. Maybe I mean he may not given that
wrestle with that chip on his shoulder. You mean and like prove
kind of like that's how little you think of me. But I mean then he runs into Demas in the next round and it's like again that's a coin flip. I mean either one of those could realistically win that.
Exactly.
And, that's tough. Like that's why I was telling you earlier about 41. Like 41 was having me pulling my hair out.
Yeah. All right, so 149. This is the so basically this is my first one. I'll give it away that I don't have the number 1 seed winning, and
Same.
it could be I am spot on with not picking the number 1 seed on this one because or like Nick said the other day, like Sasso's either gonna like be the number 1 seed and run through it, or I went with believe it or not, I was I'm kind of Iowa, Oklahoma, and Mizzou heavy, I think, in my brackets. No, and NC State. But anyway, so I got Llewellyn.
What about NIU?
And yeah, okay. So I like a lot of teams. All right. Other than App and Citadel and anybody else in this other conference. So
exactly.
But I got Llewellyn beating Sasso in the semis. I liked how he had been wrestling previously, and like I said, Sasso's kind of that. If he's off, I'm going to say, somebody like that's going to take him out. And then I got Mahler and O'Connor. I kind of went normal on the bottom side of the bracket, 3 and 2. I picked O'Connor just to make Tyler happy, I guess. I don't know. Because you're always talking about him, but I never get to see him pull anything off.
I love watching him wrestle. I watched him.
So this is my Tyler pick. So this is for Tyler. Tyler, I got O'Connor winning it for you. And then maybe we'll find you an NC State, not NC State, UNC shirt. So, no, never mind.
Yeah.
I'm still going to get you an NC State shirt anyway. So
I used to have one, and I'm pretty sure I used to wear it to practice.
So. Yeah, you did have one for a while. So I got O'Connor and Llewellyn from Okie State in the finals, which I also kind of wanted something. I was like, I can't keep picking 1 and 2s, like you kind of get to that point as well.
Yeah.
And I think this is the way where that kind of plays out.
Yeah. So, I mean, same thing for me. Pretty much I've got O'Connor winning the entire thing. I remember watching him as a freshman. I don't know what it was. There was something about it. It's kind of like that Hayden Hidley thing, like you see him and you're just like, I'm sold. There's something about him. And
yeah, that's me later on too.
Yeah. So I've got him facing in the semis. He's facing Mahler from from Mizzou. I mean, like you said, it seems every year, like I feel like there's going to be these Mizzou guys who are going to come in and set the world on fire because they have some pretty talented guys they've had in the years past. I mean, but they always seem to disappoint. But again, I'm sticking with it. I'm going to be Mizzou heavy on that. But he's going to the semis to face O'Connor. Unfortunately, he loses. Unlike you though, I had Sasso beating Llewellyn. That again was a tough one for me because I mean it's one of those things like it just depends on like how Sasso shows up, and depending on how he shows up is, I mean, Llewellyn can definitely take him out there. So we'll have to see how if he gets an easy road to the semis, then I think he might be the fresher man that can pull it out. So I've got Sasso and O'Connor in the finals. O'Connor wins.
Well, I'm going to go back with what I said last week. I said Sasso. I think if Sasso is the best option. I do have him winning, but with a lot of questions. I actually have Lovett with Sasso in the semis. I just like the way that
Lovett had
Lovett.
a great Big Ten run, and I the reason why I didn't have him going further was because I don't see Murin losing to him 2 big tournaments in a row in the same way. Lovett goes big upper body, and I see Murin saying, no, you're not going double unders on me and scoring big on me again. So I kind of seen him maybe making that adjustment. But man, he did have a great Big Ten tournament.
And you know how that stuff goes. I mean, you get the momentum, and he showed it. And so that, I guess that's why, it showed a guy that from a program that has been kind of dormant for a while, Nebraska's kind of coming back.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that. You can see what they're doing. And a lot of these young guys that we haven't heard of are wrestling with a lot of confidence. So that's why I had that, and put him through. But the same way, I had seeing him and Murin in the round of 16. I thought the same thing, but I said, you know what, I'm gonna roll with it again, because we've said it. I mean, heck, who was it? The guy from, what was it, Kent State a few years ago that chunked Colin Moore twice.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, it won't happen again, and then he does.
And then he does do it again. Yeah. True.
So I have Sasso. I actually have Mahler beating O'Connor. I'm the same way, Mizzou. And honestly, this is one of those where I came down. I was like, I went to ACC. I looked at the 17-0, the 8-0. I start looking at it, and I was like, the Mizzou guys have been in those situations, it seems, more frequently than UNC has. Mm-hmm. And it just comes down to, he might be more comfortable. So I have Mahler winning that one with Sasso, and then I just give it to Sasso in that. But once again, I think if it's not Sasso, I think it's anybody.
Yeah. I kind of find this one interesting. Like we mentioned, Nebraska kind of getting guys kind of back to the top again or whichever. And I was just thinking about, I found it interesting that like, I wasn't expecting that right now with James Green leaving, with Jordan Burroughs after this year competitively, like you kind of were seeing an exodus of even their senior level guys. And I was kind of like, well, no, the coaching staff's still there, but like, so what's going on? And then wondering if it was going to take another year or two to get maybe another senior name in there to be in the room with them. But like, these guys have been like, all right, if they want to go, fine. We're still going to find a way. And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, Dr. Snyder is the man. He knows what's going on.
Yeah. So I just found that a little bit interesting. So
yeah.
All right. So we're back up to Tyler. You want to kick off 57?
Yeah, 57. I've got Deacon going to the semis against Caleb Young from Iowa. I just, when it comes down to anyone versus Iowa who is not like a Big Ten school, it's hard to choose against Iowa because they just have such a unique style that a lot of schools outside the Big Ten aren't used to seeing. So yeah, Deacon and Young up at the top half. Then on the bottom half, I've got Hidley and Carr. I mean, Hayden Hidley's he's awesome. I mean, that, Purdy, you're his biggest fan, and I've got Hidley winning, and then I've got Hidley beating Deacon in the finals.
All right.
All right. Who wants to go?
I'm pretty much the same way on that one. You guys already know my Hidley fandom. So, like you said, you meet him at a camp and you get to see him and his interactions and the questions, and he's got the mindset. Watching him against Nolf, knowing that those were
He should have won
his matches. I think he gets it done. I think it's going to be a heck of a task against Deacon. I agree with what you said about Young, because I've got Young versus Deacon as well. It's like some of these other guys, you may be undefeated, but you didn't wrestle at the Big Ten tournament,
Yeah.
So
it's like saying you're hitting like in like a football or something, or like in baseball, like you're hitting 350, but you're also playing AA baseball. Like it's not the same. Like there's levels to it. And I was just on a, when you come in undefeated as someone like I know, not throwing shade here, but like someone like a Duke or something, like a cat from Duke, you wrestle a guy from Iowa who's got like 3 or 4 losses. That's a completely different animal. That's something you're not seeing in the ACC.
So I guess the question is,
Yeah.
what do you guys do?
All right, so I'm the same way with you guys. I do have Young and Deacon in the top. The Brady Burge Young match in the round of 16 intrigued me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could be his biggest, bump in the road to get there.
Yeah.
Same way, I think, and we all may be, underestimating, the cat from Ryder, but I'm the same way. And this is where I have, and I'm like you guys, I'm big on Derek Carr. Derek Carr was my 3 seed in the local pool we have going around here. Mm-hmm. He was the number 3 seed I picked. And I'm like you, I love NC State. I love Hayden. There's just something about the way that Carr wrestles that I think could give him trouble.
Yeah.
And I see Carr, if Carr can wrestle at that pace and can make it his style, I actually have Carr beating him. And then Carr and Deacon, and then I have Carr finishing it off and beating Deacon. So
that's I agree with you though. Like Carr is not a bad wrestler. Me personally, I like the way Hidley wrestles. He's super intelligent. The mat, he's a scrapper. Again, that's one of those ones that's definitely a coin flip. And given the way the brackets are structured, which regardless of how they're structured, they probably would have been 2 and 3 or 2 and 3 either way. So
this weight and 141, I think, have the actually, and think about it, 133 as well. Like that top 3, is pretty darn good. Like, it's not like 25 in heavyweight where you have a distinct class, or even just 2 guys. This one, like, man, that Carr
heavyweight doesn't have 2 guys.
Huh?
Really?
No, they don't.
You're throwing some serious shade right now.
They got 1. They got the next, and then they got everybody else. So.
Quick question before we go to 65. I'm just curious. Did y'all's bracket have this? It doesn't have bout numbers for my 65 bracket.
I got bout numbers.
Yeah, mine doesn't.
You mean seeds or bout like?
No, it's got seeds, but I'm saying it doesn't have like bout numbers, like where it would be like loser of match.
Oh,
something. Yeah, like mine just literally is.
Oh, I
didn't
see what you're saying.
I didn't
like
print the backside.
Yeah.
I didn't print all the backside of it. Yeah. So.
Yeah. That was
you gotta look at the other ones and see it's 501, 50, all that. It's the same.
Hopefully y'all didn't see my pick yet. So
wait, whose turn is it on this one anyway?
It's Nick's.
Yeah, I think it's on me. All right. So this is one that I got to the semis, and I'm not gonna lie, here you go. Look, I don't even have anybody because I literally was like, what in the world? So I've got Marinelli and Lewis in the semis. And I have and then I have O'Toole from Mizzou, high on him versus Valencia.
Yeah.
And golly, you want to talk about 2 semis with 2 totally different styles of wrestlers.
Yeah.
I think we've got one Marinelli, position wrestler. Lewis can freaking let it fly. And then we got 2 guys at the bottom that they could just let it fly. And my gut says Marinelli's going to pull it out. I love Mackay, love what he did a couple of years ago, but I think Marinelli, can pull it out. And at the bottom, I don't know, man. If I got to pick right now, I'm going O'Toole, and then it's Marinelli, but I could very easily see Valencia and Lewis. So,
yeah. All right. I'm just writing it down.
Well, I guess
like
while you're
this
writing it down,
something
I'll
on here.
say, yeah.
Yeah.
Marinelli and Lewis are at the top for me, top
Yeah.
half in the semis. That one I'm actually really interested to see how Marinelli wrestles that one, given what happened a few years ago, or
Yep.
a couple years ago. Seems like forever.
It
I
does
know
seem
it.
like forever ago now.
But honestly, I could see it going either way, but I'm gonna have Marinelli, and I'll go ahead and say whichever one wins that between Makai Lewis and Marinelli is gonna win the tournament. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I think. The top half,
Yeah.
the top half winner is gonna win. So I've got Marinelli going on. Obviously, he wins championship. But on the bottom half, I was struggling hard. I really like Keegan O'Toole, but at the same time, I mean, he meets Cameron Amin from Michigan, and I like Cameron Amin. He's a savage. So I went with Amin all the way to the semis,
Homer.
which
Homer.
realistically might not happen. I
I was
understand
like,
that.
I was
Well,
like,
let's
is
see
he
if it
even in the
happens.
bracket? What do we got going on here?
He's
Are
the
you
11
sure?
seed. He's the 11 seed. Um, he beats Wenzel from Pitt to
Where's
get into the
Butte
semis,
again?
and then Valencia. And I'm
Poppycock.
also going to admit, I was a little ashamed of myself because I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, when did Zahid drop down a weight class or two? Like, I'm like, I don't remember Zahid being 65 pounds. And then I realized I was like, it's his brother Anthony. So I've
My
got
hand is hovering
Valencia.
over the mute button right now, just for
Yeah.
whatever.
I was so mad at myself. I was like, this doesn't make sense. When did? Oh yeah. Anyway, so I got Amin and Valencia, and honestly, that's as far as Amin gets. I've got to. Valencia is
that
probably
far?
going to take him out. Yeah.
So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do when Kennedy Monday knocks him out round one?
Probably cry. I would actually be happy with that though, because
But I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, that's
if
right. It's
that-
UNC.
Yeah.
I mean, what are
Yeah,
you gonna
it's-
do? That's Michigan and UNC.
Yeah.
I'll just deal with it. I'll deal with it. I'll say I'm on the right side either way.
There you
It's a
go.
win-win for me.
Oh,
No, but
politician.
honestly,
Politician.
We're gonna
speaking
mute
of
him now.
speaking of Valencia, I'm curious what y'all think in the quarters. This was the matchup I really struggled with. Is Whitlake from Okie State.
Mhm.
I actually at
I-
one point had him winning over Valencia, and then I was
like I said, I was Okie State heavy, kind of. I think in some of these matches, and I almost put Whitlake down as well. In
actually,
the end,
you know what? Since you said you almost did, I'm gonna change that, and I'm gonna have Whitlake beat Valencia, and then Whitlake in the finals with Marinelli. Just because you said you
I thought you were
almost
gonna
did it.
change it to Amin beating Whitlake, and then Amin making it to the finals.
Yes.
Some crazy.
Yeah,
like that.
absolutely. No, I'm gonna change it to be different. Because that was one that I was already kind of torn on anyway.
Yeah. So I think with this weight, a lot of the same feelings, obviously, other than the Amin feelings. I had Marinelli and Lewis. Only reason why, not the only reason, but the main reason why I picked Marinelli over Lewis was because apparently Lewis, the injury Lewis hadn't apparently when he has wrestled hadn't been able to like let it fly like he did when he kind of shocked the world. And without that explosiveness scrambling that he has, I think Marinelli's positioning and soundness that he is and how his style could neutralize a hurt or not a 100% Lewis. And then I had Valencia and O'Toole, and I kind of with that one for no other reason other than just trying to. Both those guys are great. Went with Valencia, kind of based off of his brother, the Terra Grapplers. We had the interview with those guys over there from Terra Grappler. I was like, you know what? That if that's not a good enough reason for a coin flip, then not what isn't. So I went with those guys there. But I still have Marinelli pulling it out in the end here too. And he's a senior this year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with him coming up short those couple years and losing, I think there's a little extra fire for him to get that knocked out this year.
Yeah.
All right, 74. Is this my turn again, or where are
I
we
think
at?
so.
Yeah, it's on you.
All right, this is one of the weights where I don't know. Not that I didn't find it exciting, but I don't know. It's not that I think that Kemmer is far and away like better than these guys, but like I think he's been doing some of his best wrestling that he's done in his career at Iowa. Like it's like this year looks like he's been in kind of looks like the man on the mission there. Smart wrestling. Tyler will be happy that I do have Massa beating Labriola and
Well, of
Kemmer.
course you do. I mean, he's got like what 40 years of experience, you know?
So, but I do have Kemmer and Massa on that top side. Bottom side, I've got Penn State's guy that was knocking off some people earlier this year, Sorochi. I got him. Actually, I got Caleb Romero from Ohio State, just because I don't know, like the Demetrius Romero, and then I had Plot, and I was like, I just didn't that bottom side of the bracket. I was like, dude, that's kind of a jumble down there, and so I had Caleb Romero versus Penn State Sorochi, and Sorochi, I think is good enough to get back or get to the finals, but I still think Kemmer is just man on a mission this year. He looks as good as he's looked his career, healthy, looks injury free. I just see him taking it.
I'll let Nick go.
Well,
So yeah, this was
Massa winning it later, or
yeah, that's what he's going to do. Yeah, I'm like you. I this is another one of those Iowa seniors that like you say it, like we're all saying, it's on a mission. I do have Labriola going through and getting to the semis against Keimer, but I'm the same way. I think he's in there. I think he wins it. I have Sorochi making it to the finals with him. The bottom's my hardest. Like I literally have a note to say this is my biggest number 2 that could be get the upset early. But the more I've read on Demetrius Romero and his history and his background, it really makes me question that.
Okay, see, because I just didn't know it. I'm like he's 16-0, but like
Utah Valley, you start looking, you start thinking, but you look at where he's been, what he has done, and he's a Utah Valley guy at 16-0, so there has to be some stuff there. I still don't know. I'm still hesitant to put him in the semis. I'm like you. You look at the usual suspects with he's got to go through, even to start with, the Lehigh, and then he's got to go through an Oklahoma State or an App, which that's okay. We'll go Oklahoma State, Mizzou. I mean, you look at what all he has to work his way through just to get there, and it would be a great story. So, but I think that's just a car wreck waiting to happen.
I do think that'd be the best storyline for a number 2 guy to like hold true to his thing, but he's got a road ahead of him to do it.
Yeah, so apparently, like, he was at Boise when the program was dropped, and then I want to say he went to Oklahoma State or OU or something like that, and then now, like, this is his 3rd place. So it's been kind of like I said, he's kind of been around a little bit, so he knows what's going on. But yeah, I just don't know. Utah Valley, their room, their guys, it's going to be okay, but it's not the room that the rest of them are going through. But at the end of the day, I still think it's Keimer's to win, and I think he gets it done.
Yeah. Same thing. I've got Kemmer and
Massa wins it. Okay, next weight class.
Yeah, absolutely. Next question. Not even a debate. No, I've got Kemmer and Massa. Massa's 74-year-old knees give out in the semis. Kemmer wins. Then bottom
saying that so we don't mute him.
Well, no, I like Massa, but like I also give him grief because he looks like he's 50 years old. I mean, he's balding and all that. I mean, goodness sake. Like I've never seen someone so young look so old. It's ridiculous. On the bottom half, like I've got Sorochi, and then I picked Romero to go to the semis just because like I feel like that would be a cool story. But I mean, honestly, like I could see Mako beating him. But yeah, I got Romero versus Sorochi, and then Sorochi going to the finals and Kemmer winning.
All right. All right, so 184. We're back to is this the first Penn State guy ranked number 1 in this tournament?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and
It
which has
is.
been
It
really
is.
weird to see or to say, like over the last decade of Penn State wrestling. So
Yeah. Whose turn is it? Yours, Party, or mine?
I think I started off this. It's up on you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, Brooks in the semi, and I've got Kekison from UNI. This is where I was talking about, like, he's got a hard matchup against Hunter Bolin from Virginia Tech, but at the end of the day, like me and Purdy, we've talked about this a lot. Like UNI, they just got some scrappers. I mean, we
Mhm.
like the way they wrestle, so I gave him the edge there. And Kekison, I've actually got beating Brooks from Penn State to go to the finals. Um, I don't have I don't know. It's just like this one was a hard bracket for me because it's like
Mhm.
I don't know. There's just not many people who are like standing out like, oh, this is a clear winner, you know? On the bottom half, I've got Deprez from Binghamton, and then going against Trent Hidley. And Hidley goes to the finals. And just because I think it would be awesome, have both Hidley brothers winning a final, you know, winning an NCAA championship, I got Hidley winning.
Yeah, I mean, looking through this, this was another one that was tough for me. I actually have Vince beating Brooks in the quarters. I don't know why. There's just something about it that I just like that matchup. I know it didn't go well at the Big Tens.
Mhm.
And so I have Vince getting the win
I
there.
really looked at that too. Gosh.
So and that same way, like this is one of those UNI, like UNI in the upper middle weights are usually really tough, or they have been recently. So it's the same way. Kikinson, like I said, same way. I think he gets to the finals as well. And I do pick Hidley. I pick Hidley to come out. I would love, this is another, I'd love for the Binghamton guy to get to the semis. I don't know when the last time they had someone get there. But I also, same thing, like we said before, Binghamton's what, EIWA. They were
Mhm.
missing a lot of people. He's a 3 seed.
He's a 7-0 3 seed at that, too. I mean, that's
It-
not a lot of matches.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to look, Greer from Oklahoma State. You got Rutgers sitting there. I mean, it's not as hard as it could be. But you know, he could get there, but I also see him getting knocked out, you know, in the round of 16 in the quarters as well. But I'm like you, I got Hidley winning it, and his brother not. So
Yeah. Well, I think we're kind of all spot on. Like, even though I got some different picks here, like all the same stories though, or same word. Brooks is the number one seed. It's like the first, but he's just kind of based off of like him just being a phenom strength wrestler, maybe not necessarily the strength of the field. I had a hard time picking him over Vince, but I eventually did. I had Bolin going with, hold on. Let's see here. Well, Buggy.
Daddy,
Mommy?
can neighbors come in?
No, not right now.
Wait, not right now.
No. But I got Bolin. I picked him over UNI just because I also like the way Virginia Tech has wrestled this year too, and seen a lot of what their guys did. So again, it's that recency bias. Even though Tyler and I do normally go UNI guys, and down low, Binghamton, I got losing to Gear from Okie State. But so I got Brooks and Bolin, Gear and Hidley, and I got Hidley beating Brooks in the finals. Like Tyler said, getting for me, him picking like the two brothers, one NCAA tournament. Cool storyline. We all like stories, you know. We need to see happen. So, but this is the 184 seems to be kind of a weird weight with the number of guys who could, as we all just talked it through, pull through and make it, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, on to 197.
197. All right. So after what Miles Amin did at Big Tens, it's hard to bet against him. But if there's one match, if I'm Miles, that I'm worried about, it is in the semifinals with AJ.
Bingo.
Because AJ, like, that's the one that we have. So on paper, I have Amin and Schultz in the finals. I think Schultz gets him this time.
Mm.
I'm gonna pull an asterisk
Interesting.
beside it though, because if AJ wins, I think AJ wins it all.
Yeah, I would
So-
say for that I could go with that.
No,
So
yeah.
that's pretty much when I looked at it, I was like, okay, there's three guys. No offense, Arizona State, but I think there's three guys that can win it. And I think it was those three. So that's pretty much what my bracket looks like.
Yeah, I would agree because I don't even have Norfleet making it to the semis. I got Bonacarsi taking him out. I just wasn't convinced that he was the number 3 guy. I got Schultz making to the finals against Amin. I got Amin finally winning it, like you said. But the semis match between Amin and AJ is the one where I had 2 things that I said. I said, one, it's either AJ loses because he's a freshman and Amin has that, just has that experience and is able to pull
Yep.
it off and get
Yep.
it done. Or AJ, if I'm not mistaken, is our first freshman of the tournament to win.
Yes.
So that's where I'm at. Like either it's that freshman inexperience loses in the semis, which is still a great run, or we see our first, if we see him win right there, if we see him win in the semis, we see our first freshman national champ for this year.
No doubt.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, top half of the bracket for me, obviously, Amin and Ferrari. On the bottom half, I'm actually like you, Purdy. At first, initially, I had Norfleet from Arizona State, but then I was like, you know what? I just don't see it. I went with Bonacorsi from Pitt, and then Schultz. Schultz beats him. I don't think anyone's gonna question that. And then I've got, and like y'all said, depending on who wins the top half, wins the whole bracket. I mean, so if Ferrari goes to the finals, then it's Ferrari. But I've got Amin winning, and I've got Amin winning the championship.
Yeah, but there's going to be a lot of great matches, but one of my key highlight matches that I'm so looking forward to seeing is that Amin AJ semis. Like that's,
Oh my gosh.
that's just
Yeah,
one
let's-
that's one of the ones that like instantaneous star and like next to the brag, like
Yeah. I hate saying this, but like that's the one where you think like, oh, this is the championship match. Like,
But
in-
and that's
in-
two.
in
Isn't that 2 in a
actuality-
row? No, it was 70. Whatever. Lewis, Mackay, and Marinelli.
yeah.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. Ferrari, AJ was mine. Like whenever we were doing it, I went through. I was like, I knew who my 1 was. I knew who my 2 was. And then I started going through, and I saw AJ as a 4. I'm like, oh, that's my number 4 right there. I'm like, that dude right there can win it.
Yeah.
So
We've been
yeah,
talking about
and
AJ
like,
all year too, like because
Yeah. It's like y'all said. I think AJ being a freshman might be to his detriment here
but
in
or
this
like I
tournament.
said, or that's our first
I mean,
freshman to win it,
realistically,
which-
yeah. But I think Amin with the experience, and I think having a slight technical edge, because I'm not saying AJ Ferrari isn't a technical wrestler. He does have technique. Obviously, he wouldn't be at Oklahoma State if he didn't have good technique. But I think he utilizes more of his like just strength and just pure explosiveness to really get him by. And there's nothing wrong with that, because if you have those tools, use them. Not a lot of people have that combination, but when you run into someone who's also top level and can actually withstand that storm, I
See,
think
this
it
is
gets
a-
him in a little bit
This
of
is a
trouble.
way where I was really surprised that they seeded him number 4. I was thinking he'd be a 5 or 6 seed, and still I was going to say 5 or 6 seed. I was kind of thinking, well, 6 seed definitely be on the bottom side of the bracket. I was like, again, dark horse pick going to the finals, on that side of the bracket, but being on the same side as me puts that.
But to look at what he did in the Big 12 and the way he just plowed through it.
Mhm.
And to fit what you just said, Tyler, this is why it was hard for me to pick Miles on that. Is you talked about the explosion, the strength, and utilizing that. 2 words: Jordan Burroughs.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy came out early on and just did that to people. And I know Miles has seen it, and I think he'll be okay. But at the end of the day, that young kid, we all know he has nothing to lose. And Miles, knowing that this could be his only shot at it, does he tighten up a little bit? So I don't know. I'm like you guys. That one's got the star. That's the one where I'm gonna be like, hey, everybody, shut up. Like, this is it.
Yeah, and this is
So
kickers. This is a Friday night match too, so they'll wrestle
yes,
in the morning. So it's not like 100% like wait in and then waited all day and fresh. So
it's a
this could
prime time
that
match.
I think
you
could
know?
benefit AJ's youth and strength and everything. With
Yes.
that, so
yes,
there you got to remember those kind of things play a factor in it. This tournament's a grind, and sometimes that grind benefits guys like AJ. So
yeah,
which we
Yeah.
saw with, like you said, with the Big 12, like him being able to run through.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
all right, so just to tick off Tyler some more, so we're gonna talk about
So it's Paris next subject. But I'm kidding.
the single. Yeah, so there is
all right,
one person.
delete him. He's done.
Yeah, so
He
there
loses
is
the bet.
one. This is one of the ones that's just as clear as day. Yes, I
Yeah,
will say. There's
go ahead and chalk Stevenson up for all of us.
It's
I don't
Gabe
think anyone's.
Stevenson. Him going like this to the rest of the field. Mason Paris will be first in line to wrestle him in the finals. But really, I feel like this one it's Gable, Paris, and then Cassiope.
Yeah.
Are the top three, and in that order, pretty distinctly. And after that, you just throw whoever you want in there. I put Hilger just because from Wisconsin, he's a tough wrestler. He's from Wisconsin. I don't care. He's the number 14 seed. That's how much I think that's separated between those top three guys and literally anybody else.
Yeah. I mean, enough said.
Yeah. I mean, Gable, it's Gable. I've got him facing Cassiope in the court or the semis, like it matters. He beats him. And then on the bottom half, I didn't go Hilger. I went with Grimmel from Iowa State.
Yeah. I guess that's really the only question is who did we all pick?
Who
to
faces Mason Paris
in the semis? Like,
Yeah.
just who's our next guy?
And then-
I pick, Hilger, you pick Grimmel.
It's Gable and Paris in the finals, and I don't see Paris being the Anthony Kazar that can like shut up Gable. But I mean, because like you said, like Gable's like telling everyone to bring it on, and everyone's just like, I'm good. Like,
yeah,
I see what you do to people. I'm good. And I mean, so it's Gable. Next topic.
Yeah. There's such a huge separation between all of them.
Yeah.
The best talk against Stevenson or best person to say anything to Stevenson is our guy AJ. Like one of his tweets to Gable was like, one Jersey boy already did it, or one Italian's already beat you. Like, you want another one? I'll bump up a weight and do it. Like, that's been the only person to even like remotely have a good quip at Gable,
Yeah.
and he's not even in his weight, so.
Speaking of this though, and it doesn't look like it's playing a factor yet, but it hasn't been NCAA time. We know what Gable has talked about post, his basically his post wrestling career, what he wants. Yeah. I wonder if that is gonna have some added pressure to him, because I think he's kind of being groomed like to be, if he's going to go to the WWE, he's going to be groomed to be that next Brock Lesnar. He's coming from Minnesota. He's a heavyweight. He's a super athlete.
Training videos of him and Lesnar working out together in the room,
Yeah, so I mean, it's like one of those things. Does it add extra pressure? I don't think so. I mean, even if it does, I think he's just so dominant. I don't think it's going to matter. But I mean, that could be a factor too, though.
And I think like he's going to be, when he wants to, it's like on his terms, like when he wants to. He's going to win the NCAAs. He's going to go out for the Olympic team in 2 more weeks, Olympic trials after this. That's his goal, is to do that. And if once he check marks those lists off, because that's what he's been doing, then he's going to go in and make more money. He's going to be like, I've done all the stuff that Lesnar did, plus some. So my paycheck's going to be this much higher than his.
Yeah.
Check that off for me. And
I mean, he reminds me, this is going to sound weird, but it's like, he kind of reminds me a lot of a grizzly bear. It's like, he's going to do whatever he wants when he feels like doing it, and he's going to be good at it. Like, it's like, you're not going to stop me. I mean, I can tell you what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it. It's going to happen. It's just when I feel like doing it, like, well, I'm not in a hurry, but.
And what you said is right. He says that. And I was just flipping back through. Think about this. He will probably be the most athletic champion we have this weekend, the next closest guy, Dayton Fix, 133.
What if AJ Ferrari wins?
Well, but that's what I'm getting at. Like, we're talking about a
We're talking about the
heavyweight.
weight. I'm like saying, when was the last time we had 197 and then heavyweight guys like AJ and Gable?
So Gable
I can't remember the last time.
Gable's going to put on a show in the Big 10, and I think, like you guys said, he gets paired. Whoever is in the finals, just know you're going to be part of the highlight reel. Because he is going to leave everybody. I'm like you guys. I think he's winning this. He's beating Gwiz. He's getting on the Olympic team. I think the only thing that prevents him going straight to professional wrestling is he doesn't win the gold. But
Again,
I mean, at that level,
until he checks that off his list for when he wants to go do it. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be fun. As a lightweight guy, it's gonna be fun to watch a heavyweight wrestle that style.
I mean,
so you can start looking at your guys and go, hey, there it is. You can do that.
Again, like I'm saying, even when Kyle Snyder won it at heavyweight, the way Kyle Snyder wrestles and wins,
he wrestles heavy. He wrestles very heavy.
Is a different athleticism than what we're seeing out of AJ Ferrari, what we're seeing out of Gable Stevenson. The heavyweights, the heavier ends, it's almost like mind-boggling that they can be that athletic and move the way they are at that size. Like, you expect it out of our lightweights. We expect to see Lee scramble and do stuff as a tiny guy. We expect to see Dayton Fix get after it and do all the funky stuff and everything, all the way up to the middleweights, where we got, Deacon and Hiley's and all those guys are kind of starting to bulk, but still be able to move. But when we normally hit that 74-ish, then we start to see solid, but not, they were athletes, but not the athleticism. And now, like, good gosh.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. Like, with Gable, even with Kyle Snyder was athletic, but he still wrestled heavy. Like, when you watch him, he still looked, because he was so muscle bound, like, he had so much muscle, it was still real kind of, I wouldn't say clunky or anything, but it just, you could tell.
It's kind of like Marinelli, how Marinelli is sound wrestler in the middle with some like flashes of explosion to hit the takedown.
Yeah. And that's kind of what Kyle was.
Yeah. Except he was
and then
just made it
with Gable,
so easy to do when he did it. Like, he just
and with Gable, it's a matter of, like, if he wants to put the gas on the entire match, he's gonna do that. Does he have
what's
to?
going to be scary about the finals match is Gable's going to be rested all day long. There's nothing for him to hold any back for like a later match. Not like he ever had to hold anything back for a later match, but he didn't always, like, he kind of would toy a little bit and, like, kind of, not he could have.
You want to feel real bad? It just hit me. I was thinking back to some FRL episodes in the fall. Gable is only 20 years old, guys. He doesn't turn 21 till May 31st. Like, dude is still a baby. Dude is still.
He doesn't look like it, though. He does kind of look like a grown man. Like,
well,
but
he also grew that beard and, like, aged like 5 years when COVID hit. So,
But like I said, dude's 20 years old. So you think about it, like, he's just starting to touch his prime, and we're talking about a guy about to hit and then go into WWE, which is great for him. But it is just one of those things that's like, man, this could be great for America wrestling, stuff like that.
This is what makes me think about, like, his age. Like, you say, guys, wait till you feel bad because, like, it makes us feel old. But, like, what do guys like Gwiz think that have been on the circuit for a while, and they're the older guy and they should be older, stronger, and they're like, dadgum. Because he was 19 when he beat Gwiz. Like, he wasn't even 20 yet. He had just turned 20. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, this kid, literally, to say, this kid is coming for my spot. And he is a child coming to take your spot. Now, I'm not going to call him a child. He is a man-child. Okay, let me rephrase. Now you do hear this. This man-child is coming to take people's spot. I'd say with all love and adornment, I love you, I'm sorry. Tyler made me do it. I'll give you his address later if you need to go kill somebody and eat them.
No, don't send it my way. But no, you're 100% right. How often do we talk about, like, these college athletes transferring all this? Like, at the end of the day, he's 20. And I don't think this is a controversial statement, but he's a kid. Like, would any of us really consider a 20-year-old an actual adult? Like, no, he's still very young. And like, even realistically, where he's kind of in his prime, a lot of people believe that, the athletic prime doesn't hit until like your late 20s, like 28 to 30.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. He's
And-
just starting to touch on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Or
he's
depending
if
on,
he's
like,
at
you know,
this
that
level now,
24, 23.
imagine 5 years from now, like what he could do for USA Wrestling. Better yet, what if he decided to do MMA? I guarantee, I don't see anyone stopping him unless they can just happen to connect with his jaw and shut his entire body off. Because if he gets a hold of you,
I don't see
it's
that
a wrap.
happening because I've seen him take a smack from a Russian overseas.
Oh,
And
yeah,
he'll
exactly.
literally go.
Yeah,
wave a
that's what I'm
finger at
saying.
him.
Like,
Like,
you have to have someone with like Francis Ngannou type power who just hits him in the right spot. But the problem is hitting him in the right spot, because he will
only going to
come
anger
at you,
him.
and he's fast, he is strong, and once he gets a hold of you, you're going for a ride whether you want to or not.
Like,
Yes.
It's
from
like,
when he was in cadets and when he was even younger, his maturity with wrestling, like I said, like being overseas and taking some of these smacks from these like Russian men, like one guy like
Yeah.
gave him that shot, like he didn't lose his cool at all. He literally was like
I
I'm
said,
like,
it's like
the
it's
child
like a
just
grizzly
gave
bear.
a grown man the finger wave and then proceeded to
Yeah.
whip his tail. I was like,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like a grizzly bear. It knows that it's like you can try to attack me all you want. If I want to, I could rip your arms off. Like, and I'm sure Gable thinks that. Like Gable, and I wouldn't even say thinks that. I think he knows that.
Yeah.
I think he knows there's not a person on this planet
that's
that
why
can
he's been
step on a
dancing
mat
on
with
people
him
since he was a freshman.
and take him out. Yeah. I think and that's why, like, I would still love to see like him and Anthony Cassar like today, because Cassar beat him twice, and like,
It was the athleticism that Kazar had
Yeah.
that the other heavyweight, and that was why it was a great matchup.
because he
but
hadn't
like we
faced
said-
that until Kassar at that weight.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Not
Yep.
even like internationally, so it's kind of crazy. But all right, before we wrap it up for tonight, then, anybody got anybody other than Iowa running away with this team race? Like, are there
Michigan.
any other surprises that we see come out of this?
Michigan or Appalachian State? No, I'm kidding. No, definitely it's Iowa. It's Iowa, 100%.
All right, so I guess the only other thing to be thought of then is whether or not they give Lee or Gable the Hodge this year. And I told Tyler, I said, I think on paper Lee has a slight edge because he is the multi-timer already.
He would have been a 4-timer.
But with this year, I think it just depends on who more what's the right term? Who more badly dominate? Who
Who
not
dominates
better,
the
who
tournament
bonuses
better?
more, but like what kind of bonuses do we see? Like, is it like Spencer teching everybody and Gable pinning everybody, then they give to Gable, or something like that? I think that's the only way.
Speaking of Spencer Lee, I want to hear y'all's take. So I made the take a few years ago. You remember this? I said he was going to be a 4-timer. Am I considered right about that, given that COVID kind of screwed everything up? Because taking that out of the equation, does anyone believe he wouldn't have won last year?
No, and he has said he's coming back next year.
Is he?
He made
I thought he
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to. If so,
No,
that's
remember,
this
this-
year was
this-
the freebie year.
Exactly. He's coming back.
yes. I keep forgetting about that. I keep forgetting because I keep thinking it's kind of like the
That's why
Ivy
we
League
have to say
schools.
that Yanni can't graduate. He has to stay in undergrad for 20 years so that he can become a 4-timer or have the shot to.
Yeah,
So-
but
so-
he can't because of where he's at.
Yeah. So the Lee Gable thing, I think it goes. I'm torn a few ways. Lee is the face and has become the face of NCAA wrestling.
Mhm.
It's no knock on Gable. Gable brings fans in. Minnesota just is not the program it used to be. Like it's not the name. It's not known. And it's like this. It's almost like the Heisman in football, where you have to be from a top tier program now. And I hate that because you're right. Gable is, those are the two, most dominant. And I think there has been one time where they gave the Hodge to two people. I may be
they
wrong.
did that because it was Kel Sanderson and the guy that had the disability, or something like that. That's the only time they've ever given it to two people.
But that's what I'm getting at. Like, this could be one of those years. I still think, barring like, Spencer not getting a major, maybe Sam Latona, gets beat by a decision and Gable puts on a show. Like, I almost think it's a lock. And just like Iowa getting the team title, it's almost that let's go ahead and do what was supposed to happen last year. Let's do it this year. Iowa runs through it. Spencer runs through it. He gets to, be awarded it the right way, which was not given last year. And then we kind of move forward from there. So that's kind of my take on it. But I'm like you guys, I would be fine with going, hey, you know what? These two guys are by far the best.
Yeah.
So
the only issue with that is that I feel like it sets a bad precedent of like, you have two extremely dominant guys that therefore you're going to start seeing two Hodge winners. And I kind of
like,
I'm not a big fan of that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I prefer it being just one. And like, I've heard a few people, not a lot, because it's not a popular opinion, but I've heard a few people say like, give like a Hodge trophy type thing, like per each weight class. And it's like, no, that then diminishes it as well, because it's like,
that's the champion in each weight class. That's
exactly.
Exactly. That's another, it's just like, I think that's stupid to say like, here we have the MVP of this weight, MVP of this weight. Then it's not as special, because it's like, it means something when you're saying out of every weight class, I'm the winner of like the best overall wrestler, like, so, but
exactly.
But at the same time, I agree with you with the Gable thing. I mean, realistically, they both could win it, but I don't want to get into the tradition of giving co-Hodges, I feel like if anything, that should be a rare event. And I don't think this is a rare enough event.
Yeah, it's only happened that one time, 2001. So
yeah, I was trying to look up the name of the guy that won it with
Nick Ackerman from Simpson College. I got it up right here. So yeah, and I'm the same way. I mean, I totally agree, because I just don't think it's a precedent. The reason I say that is we know where the wrestling heavy, it's kind of like the Baseball Hall of Fame. You know where the heavy people are going to vote. You know how they're going to vote. You hate to say the old heads, aren't really a fan of Gable and what he does. So you could see them voting again. And that's why I would be okay with doing it this year, because it does show the two of it. But I'm like you, I'm not a fan of doing it both ways. But these two guys right here, especially with the season, put an asterisk. It's a COVID season.
This season's going to have an asterisk next to it anyway. So if you're already throwing the asterisks out on it, like, I could almost see it this time around, but yeah. I don't think they will. But
I think it's already done. I mean, if we were football, if ESPN was all in this, they would be all in. I don't know. They may be all in the Gable Stevenson bandwagon, because he's good for TV. Spencer just goes out there, takes you down and sticks you in or takes you in a minute, 14 seconds, and walks off the mat and winks at you. So
yeah. So, like I said, with talking more about him before we wrap it up, like one of my biggest, I don't want to say regrets about this year, but things I didn't like about this year is I feel we were robbed of seeing Gable do Gable things all year long, and being that having that DeSanto year where it was like, love him or hate him, like everybody wanted to see what he was going to do. So I hate that we didn't have that go on this year.
Still feel that way. I'm still that way anytime DeSanto steps on the mat. I'm like, I want to see this. Ever since he put Micic in that flying Kimura, I was like, I can't stand him.
And then the very next year,
I was like, but I want to see what he does. And then when he transferred to Iowa and I was watching him and seeing his shenanigans, I was like, okay, I'm sorry, I can't hate him any longer. Like, you can't help but like it. Like, he's a madman, but it's so
thumbs
fun
up,
to watch.
Thumbs down, like all that stuff.
A
lot of it also with him. Remember, like you could tell there was a bias against him. Like, again, that RBY match where RBY ran across 3 mats and like jumped on him. Like, they were waiting to give DeSanto stuff like points.
Oh, yes, it's a lot like Indomitian Sue. Like, he's got a reputation, and now they're kind of like.
But
he
Anybody
almost
else?
steps on the mat with a warning, like
Yeah.
you know. And but honestly,
with the name.
what's going to be exciting is watching him against Fix. I wonder if he wants to get revenge for what Fix did to him a couple years ago. With the,
Games on him, yeah. So
yeah, we choked him.
I don't think
just
we'll
don't
see that
think he
happen
has
again
it.
this year.
Yeah.
But it will be a good match to watch. That's another one that has the star next to it of like, let's let it go.
It's like everyone sit down, be quiet. Let's watch this one match for
Yeah.
like 10 minutes, please.
This
Like,
match is gonna
Exactly.
take full screen instead of multi-screen for a minute here, guys. Sorry, but this is the way it's gonna be. So
oh
all right,
yeah,
well, it kicks
absolutely.
off tomorrow. And I'm gonna holler at you guys. I think I got some notifications saying that we're e-learning tomorrow, so I'll be watching from home tomorrow morning.
All right.
We can always do the FRL watch party where we're
Watch
sitting
party.
here
As long as,
going at it.
as long as we don't get blown away down here, we'll be good.
Yeah, we'll just see what's up with everything. So,
All right, guys.
See ya.
all right, you guys, take it
See ya.
easy.
Bye bye.
All right.